Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Wednesday, January the 16th, 2019. And we have, of course, my gal pals, BZ Rieger and Lisa Flamino Rush. And we got BZ in the daytime hours. That's pretty cool.
And Keegan's over here in the Shays Lounge too. So
yeah. So, and we're going to, we're going to talk about, well, I didn't even find it on my list, and now it's gone. Stop
playing at being socially
acceptable. Yeah.
Is my mic okay where it is?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so at the moment. So stop playing at being socially acceptable. Is that right?
Yes.
I don't like playing being socially acceptable anymore.
Cool.
I actually abhor it. I don't enjoy it. And so since I'm only following what makes my heart sing, because I'm absolutely convinced that's the way to materialization. I mean, that's the whole gig of it. And so I don't feel comfortable in those situations anymore. They're not fun. There's nothing there. It's very, it feels very superficial and not real to me. I don't know how else to put that.
One of the, yes, absolutely. And so, well, there's kind of like a couple of different things came in when I was having the whole conversation about this. So that's part of the first part, noticing for yourself, where are you doing that? Where are you in these places, family, whether you're engaging online, wherever it is, right? And noticing the differential, as you said, the disconnect, the subterfuge, really, if you're honest with yourself and honest with everything, that's what's going on. So you notice that, and you didn't specifically lay it out this way, but it's, removing yourself from those situations or limiting yourself in those situations, not limiting, well, you are limiting yourself by being in those situations and being hamstrung in by them. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is the more important, and where the energies are, we are right now, and what really is imperative for us all to be fierce about is to be who we are wherever we are. And that's not hawking peanuts. But to be where we are, to use our language, to use how we walk in the world, how we play in the world, wherever we are in the world. Stop couching our language.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. This has been happening to me a lot lately. I don't know why, but that hit my funny bone so hard. But you're right. You're right about all of those things. And I don't know why that hit my funny bone so hard, but I guess it's out of character for you. That's why. And I guess that is part of the other thing, is when you're trying to be socially acceptable. I'm sorry. For me, there's so much humor in all of this that we're doing. I can't, and I just don't hold it back anymore. So much so that there has been some pants going on over here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mute now, just in case I break out.
Well, so someone said, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, um, every being is a transmitter. Every being isn't missing everything. And the star seeds, those who are awake, those who are have a sense of this and knowing of this, even if you would put yourself in the, well, I don't really, kind of, sort of, only, okay, well, that's your choice in wording. And you might want to play in a more expansive way, every step of the way. But everyone is integral. So if someone says, are we there yet? Or X, Y, or Z hasn't happened yet. Or, but X, Y, and Z is occurring and I can't do what I want, or stopping me from this and that. Well, every single being is needed to move that along at an expansive, flowing, quantum, ever jumping rate. And so if you're not spending all of your time either alone in your state of being expansive and transmitting out that way, or only with a few beings where you can be expansive, and instead you're spending your time, some of the time, more of the time, even a lot more of the time, depending on what the situation is, out there with other beings, family, things at work, things in the different social networks, whatever that is, wherever you're going. If you're doing that and you're not fiercely, no longer playing and being socially acceptable, then you're letting yourself down, and you're not playing in a way that you're wanted, need, and loved to play, and that you agreed to play. So there's a way to not change where you're going. So you go to a certain place at work, or all the places that I just mentioned, whatever it is for anybody's circumstance. You don't need to have to stop doing that. You just need to change what you're doing, which is shading yourself, right? Couching your language, kind of putting you and your knowing and your expansive heart and the expansiveness of you in a little box, put it in your pocket, and then you walk into the room, or you get on the computer, or you go to work, or you do whatever it is.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Needs to, if you want to be in a world, in a reality that is spectacularly delicious and abundant and expansive, and all the things that you could have pointed to before as don't want this, that, and the other thing, if you want to be in a place like that, then this is something that is, you could say, very important, essential, helpful for you to do now, and you'll get better and better and better at it. It's essential for you to participate in being yourself. When you're hiding yourself, the truth of who you are and the expansiveness of who you are, you're having it's like a voting sign and an energetic, electrical current sign that says, no, what I just said about wanting to be expansive and abundant and all this kind of stuff, I was lying. I made it up, and I don't stand by my word, and I don't stand in integrity, and so scratch that.
Yes.
And then when you leave wherever you were and you go back to that, incongruency is hurtful it hurts physically.
Yes.
It hurts electromagnetically, but it's creating more and more and more of a shearing force that shears on all of your bodies. And since you could say it's kind of like it's in a resonant flow, you're attracting things to it. So you are bringing things to it that'll come right up in your face so that you'll notice what you're doing, so that you'll be of choice and integrate what you're doing, and then go with what you're giving voice to that you want to do. And in case you haven't noticed, by going like this, it's right up in your face, and it's not going to be fluffy bunnies going kiss, 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 kiss. Unless they lick you first and then chomp your nose because they got you tenderized.
So I keep hearing someone, probably way more than one someone, saying, okay, so when we're talking about stop being socially acceptable, to what do we refer?
Okay, so that's an excellent question. Terrific question. And there could be different sides of it. From my standpoint, being socially acceptable is someone who is in integrity, someone who is of love and expansiveness, someone who respects themselves and respects the others that they're coming into contact with, someone who, you know, loves to play in the cosmically deliciousness that they are and everyone else is. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everybody. Now, what I was perhaps more alluding to is the socially acceptable thing of what others are thinking. You know, like, and you can take it very linear as well. So if it's about politics, or it's about religion, or it's about anything, and you know that someone else gets their perceptions and from someone else, because that's, you know, they don't remember to think for themselves. They don't remember how to tune in and you know, their own resonance and discernment meter in here. So when you encounter someone, they have different things. Like they'll say, oh, well, that orange man would, you know, for a lot of beings, that would be, you know, a good way to describe it. I have a very interesting thing. I have a place where I spend a lot of time. It's for me, it's a fun way to spend my time. I'm not going to say it directly, but it's a fun way to spend my time. And once a week I'm there with a bunch of beings, and, you know, the orange man is the biggest fill in the blank, and you know, they're all expletives, and my God, are we ever going to survive? So one of the ways that you can do what I'm talking about is you don't change your vibration at all. You may not say a lot, but yet you're not changing your vibration at all. So you're actually saying an awful lot, even though nothing audible is coming out of your mouth. And that's very important. And you can tell that you're saying a lot, and you're being heard that you're saying a lot, even though nothing audible is coming out of you. Because as the other conversation, which is audible and can, you know, get pretty head up, heads will, you know, because, you know, you're focusing on what you're doing, so there's other stuff going on, but heads will keep looking at you and you haven't said a word, you know, because we can all feel it. So that's a way to join the conversation. That's just the example I'm giving right now. That's a way to partake in the conversation, to not couch your language, your frequency in any way, shape, or form. Be fierce about it, and be completely respectful and completely in integrity and open-hearted love with the other beings.
Yes.
Because you're not selling anything, you're just being who you are. You can do it with audible words as well. You know, it depends on the situation, and you can do it. You can actually elicit that audible conversation as well in how you phrase it, in how you, you know, you might postulate a pondering, or a that's interesting, or a a very open-ended question,
Yeah.
which is like I call it a noodling seed. So it lands, and it's not that there's an answer expected right then there, but it, like a sample, like when I used to do the farmers market, kind of noodles around in there, and it's also kind of a Velcro-y seed. So as it's noodling around, these beings are going other places. Other little things kind of stick to
Yes.
it.
Yes. But this is calling to mind something about when I used to go to the dance studio, and sit for hours every week. But there's a specific dynamic, and what was really interesting to me was it was an eclectic mix of people, right? They're coming together from just everywhere. So it was an interesting mix. And that is one thing that I did, was just fiercely hold my frequency, no matter what was going on around me, right? And but mostly I didn't talk a lot. I just fiercely held my frequency, and it's not as easy as one might imagine. Give it a try.
Nope.
But so after a while, people began to notice. Okay, so I'm going to say this, that I would observe the conversation, right? I'm fiercely holding my frequency while I'm taking in every conversation, like every bit of data, it's coming in. But I don't invite it in for tea or grapple with it or resist any of it, or I just observe it and I notice. And what I began to notice was the conversation around me would shift. At first, it took a while. It was a pattern I noticed. But what I began to notice was when I came in and sat down, the conversation in the room would change.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes very slowly, and other times it would change abruptly.
Yeah.
And other times, people began to notice, and they would now whisper upon my approach, right? And then I sit down, and then everybody says, nothing. There's just total silence. There was lots of animation and laughing and storytelling, but the group senses my approach. I sense the group sensing my approach, and suddenly, nothing. And then the group said to me, well, now that Swiss is back, we're done. They began to edit their own conversation in my presence because it made them feel uncomfortable to do what they were doing in my presence. Didn't feel right anymore. And I never said anything
Right.
to
It's
anyone
because you
about any of it.
what we talked about a couple conversations ago, where you've using the metaphor of what you're doing, so you're perfectly present, you're right there. It's not like you're standing there with battle axe over your head and this horrible look on your face. You're the absolute contrary to that, actually, full of love.
Right.
And so you've moved their frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they chose to stay there or shift there is entirely up to them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after a while, because we were all comfortable, I could say a thing.
Right.
And it would have a big impact because it was a frequency. It was more, it was really a descriptor of what they were experiencing already.
Right.
So it was just it helped it would shift the room sometimes, right? But that happened after, thank you for bringing this up, because that happened after a great deal of time. like I would move the energy for a very long time.
Right.
It took years before the shift.
But not
happened.
anymore. See, not anymore.
Yeah. No, you're right. Not anymore.
Seconds. And what in the example that I was alluding to for me, so there's a weekly physical component to it,
Okay.
and then not all in the group, the team, not all are on. They're all on social media. They're all on Facebook, but not are all directly. Was it friends with me on Facebook? But a number of them are. And so when you do that, you can see what's coming on. My stream will go on their, not their personal wall, but their stream as well.
Yes.
And I never hide what I do. So and it's fair to say a number of them I'm very well liked and thought of as a good person and a smart person and good at what I do in this particular focus of what we're doing. In this that I'm talking about, the weekly thing. So it's kind of a I don't know what is the right word. It's an anathema or it's a non sequitur. Or it's, well, wait a minute, but she's a good person. So the mind is blowing in just the little snippets that they would catch, not only what goes on in person, but then what might be caught on the social media.
Right.
So again, how do you do it? I mean, one of the things when you're wanting to talk about something, or if someone's already talking about something and you want to say something, it's actually very cool when you get into the flow of this and you feel yourself doing it. What you're doing is you're also being fierce with yourself of having that expansion continue to be held at one level and keep going. And what I mean by that is, so if someone is talking about something and your ego mind might hear that and go, oh yeah, I mean, they just want to dive right in. But you have stated and asked and commanded yourself to be in integrity and fierce about your frequency vibration. So now you're actually having, you could say, two conversations going on at once. The one that's within you. So that's showing you, oh, well, wow, I got a big rock of, cow patties on that shoulder I need to get rid of and integrate, because did you see what, the thought of a response was that came back to that? Before you even talk about the out there. And then again, there's the whole conversation going on. So is it difficult to do at the beginning? Yeah, it can be.
I actually hurt myself. Okay, this is true. Lisa and Albert were here. I actually physically hurt myself. The whiplash from, because it was so confusing to me, first of all, when one hasn't fully sometimes the energy starts running within me and I get a bit confused. My mouth wants to go, and what I'm saying is a knowing and a truth within me. And it's like it just, but I sometimes get confused between what is rushing through me as source energetic that just wants to say what I know to be a truth and not overwhelm the being whom I'm saying this to, because they can't hear it or aren't ready. And then I get all confused sometimes then in my field in regards to the non-interference thing. So that's a big gig. And so I had this experience most recently where I was the day before I had been I thought I was handling it pretty well. I had this same thing rise up within me, and I removed myself from the room, and I don't think anybody realized anything had transpired within me. I don't know, Lisa may have felt it, but I know Albert didn't. And then it happened on the next day, Sunday, again, and this time the mouth didn't, I couldn't, I was no, that wasn't happening. It just and I realized what I was doing a little too late, again with the eyes glazed over on the other being, and I pulled myself up so short so fast it felt like whiplash within my body. I don't know, it was a very confusing thing, and it was very painful. Oh, it was the entire, because it's like I shut something off really fast or something, and I don't
Well,
know what all was taking place in my field.
sounds like you had a couple things going on. So first of all, the energy rushing through and flowing through of source energy knowing, beautiful. The mouth running off with all of that, that's not source energy. That's not heart energy. That's not open heart energy doing that. They don't, your open heart doesn't do that. Your smarmy guy up here will do that. Because now you're selling.
Well, I
So
gathered
what
that's what it
happened?
was, and by the, like I said, by the time I realized what was happening, the damage was already done,
Yeah.
and I don't
So
know, the shutting.
you had kind of a slamming in two different ways. Shutting
Yeah.
off the energy is one thing, but also that would make you feel uncomfortable, have some pain in your body because
Yeah.
well,
I'm
because
sorry,
you
but that's a bit of a
think think of it this way. So
It hurt me. Okay.
yeah, you've got an aperture in your tunnel of the energy flowing through is this wide, right? What you were already doing because the mouth was running, right? Then you in essence were already starting to constrict. You took you to feel it a moment to catch up to, because with the mouth running it was closing down the tunnel.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So
Yes,
you
actually it
have
does.
a hand span wide of
It's
cosmic
like
source
throwing up
energy
a brick wall in front of you
flow,
as you're going
flowing
70.
smoothly through, right? And there is the disconnect, there is the confusion, because Smarmy's going, oh yeah, hey, this is my chance, I'm going to sell. And as he starts to sell, right, this energy is already being constricted. Forget the other being for a minute. It's already being constricted. Okay? So that's already part of the painfulness, already tightening down. But Smarmy's on a roll. He's like, okay.
Yeah, he was the one we were having a hard time
Right.
putting.
So he keeps going, and now this is getting to a brick wall here. Okay, then all of you kind of catches up with yourself and goes, whoa, okay, remove yourself from the room. Hence, Smarmy is okay. So now you got that discomfort, but you're also, as that discomfort goes, the wall, right, and the constriction all of a sudden opens up. So you're kind of going, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
That about Kate? What was going on, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a full on, that was the most uncomfortable experience I think I've ever had, physically.
Excellent. That's excellent.
Awake.
And we all still love each other afterwards.
Right. And do you know why I say it's excellent? Because now you have a direct experience of knowing.
Yes.
Of how to tune those energy spigots, how to modulate them, how to manage what's going on. And I talked a little bit about it the other day in a QP I was doing. You can set little, was the one I just did yesterday about you are the path, but you can set little, to kind of use social parlance. You can set little warnings or alerts or hints for you, like you do on your phone or something like that, where you're going in different places that is not part of the path that you want to go to.
Well, what I ultimately deciphered from that experience for myself, aside from the fact that, well, I I never do anything half-ass or halfway, so there's that. Apparently had to show myself just how painful this experience could actually be in the waking physical. But I'm grateful for the way that I did it, in that, well, and I'm grateful that Albert handled it in the way that he did. God love his ass, I tell you that. But I came to know that I was actually, that was, again, me trying to communicate with me, not him.
Yeah, that's a proving. It was a big proving.
Yeah, and so because I don't have to do that if it's something that I already got. And so anyway, that it was a huge proving. It just wasn't really comfortable at all. And I share it because it is confusing, and still, I'm hoping that would be the last proving to myself that I need to do.
Well, it won't be the last proving. I can absolutely.
Well, but in this
come in
particular
different ways, and it'll different intensities.
Right.
Well, here's hoping, because
there's no hopium needed. It's all, you're in the driver's seat, baby.
Well, because based on what I've experienced so far, I've set up some pretty intense crap for myself. I gotta say.
Well, haven't we all?
Yeah, but you can. That's what I'm talking about. Those little alerts, or however you want to phrase it. You can set those up now, and you don't have to know exactly what the alert's for. It's about frequency. So to now you have to, when the thing is going beep beep beep, you don't go, oh, what is that, Rudolph's nose or something? You actually have to. So you might want to set yourself 20 or 30 and have them, have a many mile markers ahead of time where they start to go off, but that's what, remember when I started the beginning of this conversation, where it's imperative that we bring all of us and allow all of us to stay front and center. And I'm talking about all of us, the expanded all of us. I'm talking about all of us, the fiercely, in an expansive frequency. I'm not talking about all of us, meaning, the selling smarmy and all that kind of stuff. Because that's where you get that right in your face.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite grateful to myself for all of that. I'm very grateful, of course, for my housemates that are, on this same journey, knowing what it is that we're all doing here, and not taking anything, personally. And because that's the other big thing. That's what makes this a difficult journey to do alone, or for me anyway, when you don't have those around you that know what you're doing and are uh, I don't know, doing the same thing. I just feel very, very,
well, we're all doing the same thing.
well, I get that. I
We're all
get that, but
different levels and roads, and I understand it completely what you're saying. And I'm also
okay,
saying
good.
now with the energies, um, we can't have that as a placeholder anymore. Like there's a pre kindergarten, and I'm outside in the parking lot while I think about being in there, because
Yeah.
talk about the wallop, and it's
Yeah.
nobody else external to you doing anything to you. It's you in the shirt who is choosing this. Okay, obviously not very consciously, but but that's what's going on. So we envision all these different things about, oh, our star family, this and the other thing. Well, the way that most beings, and a little less than used to be, but the way that most beings um, move with their energy and pay attention to that and awareness of that, and consciously how they hold it, it is in a way that's totally reckless. I mean, I'll paint a linear picture. So you're driving down, um, a 5-lane highway, and you're zigging back and forth the thing. You're throwing stuff out your car. You're spraying people's windshield so they can't see. You've got little spiky, your vehicle has these spiky things, and you keep hitting the button, and the spiky stuff rolls out, and it's poking people because that's your energy. And so that's literally how people are going around in the world. There are and this is to answer a question I just heard a couple of people ask, some on both sides of the kind of the equation of it. So for me at work, there are some beings that I spend as absolute little as possible time anywhere around. I might do the communication or the interface that I need to for passing information, or like, check, got that, or this is coming up, whatever it is, by text, by email. And again, email is preferred because it's further removed electronically and electromagnetically.
Sure.
And when I know that I have a meeting or something coming up when it's with those beings, then I spend a good 5 minutes or more doing a whole intentional thing where I have different shield guards in place just for that particular occasion.
Right.
And then there are other beings where it's slightly different. Then there's some where, again, it's different. So I still do my job. I just have to, it's like, if you're going to dig a hole, it would probably be good to have good sturdy shoes on, or boots instead of flip-flops, right? Unless you,
Right.
used to do. So let's just use that's an example that's linear and a metaphor example.
Right.
So you're at work, you're coming up with the proper gear for yourself to continue to do what you need to do in your expansion and be in the job and transmit, and because where everybody is in this moment, they're there for a reason of beyond what they think is survival, and they gotta do a job. Make no mistake, don't have any illusions that that's not the case.
Right.
And when it is not the case anymore, then something will unfold at your behest, whether you remember you made the behest or not, where that shifts and changes, where something at the existing, we'll say in this example, job happens, or unfolds, or you get moved to a different thing, or now you have different responsibilities, or whatever it is, or you leave the job, or something new comes along. So there are many levels and layers to everything that's going on, and none of it is happenstance or coincidental.
Right.
Well, you brought up a really good point there, BZ, and as someone who has come into expansion of consciousness in a rather haphazard sort of way. I didn't come in, the yoga route or the spiritual route or, all of that. And I don't do the meditation thing very well. And, I kind of fell into the Reiki thing by accident. So, I, I know, but you know what I know that I set that up, but what I mean by that is I wasn't out there seeking, other than I had questions about things I was hearing, right? And I'm just saying, so you were speaking there about, how you take some time and you prepare your energy when you know you're going to be in a meeting with, and I will say that that's not something I ever heard about before, before I started looking into meditation, before I started Reiki. There's an entire thing about Reiki, about preparing the room, preparing your energy, this sort of thing. And so these are things that I will just speak for myself. I never thought to take time to do, in part, because I didn't think that, that wasn't a thing. I didn't know about it, all these other kinds of things. And it's also something that pertains to self-care, that we're not, necessarily, it's not something that's certainly not taught in school, which in my view ought to be.
Well, soon we'll have real schools, but not in the schools we have now. It's not
right. Well, and in those real schools, these are some of the things I know that will be taught. I just know this. Because self-care is the most important thing, and self-love, all of those things are things that we're not, even now, I'm still learning about what makes my heart go pitter patter, quite frankly. I mean, for reals, not what I thought it was supposed to be, because that's what everybody said it was supposed to be, like, or whatever. So I wanted to say that is, and that's not something that I, even now, remember. I haven't made it a priority for myself. And so that's a very important point. That's why you saw me making a note. That's something that is important, that
Yeah, we can do a whole conversation about that. Happy to. I will add one little thing here. You do it in, so if you want to write that down, that would be great. You can do it in different ways. So I'm, if I was to give part of a label to myself, it would be intuitive empath, and that's part of, part of one of the many missions that I do here. And so when I first came to this coast of the country, big quantum jumps were going on, big things are going on, and to go into some place like Costco or something like that was excruciatingly painful. I mean, as soon as I walked in the door, it was just about drop you to your knees, excruciatingly painful. And there were a couple times that I just, I'd take a moment, and outside I would just go full shields up. And then I could get through. I had to do it very quickly and come out, and I wouldn't have a thing. But that was also very painful to do that, because that was then thwarting all of my senses, all of my reading, all of my connection, all of what part of what I'm supposed to do. I just, so I had to learn how to, and of course this was in 2011. It was right around the 11/11 gate and all that. So all the energies were taking multiple quantum jumps compared to nothing to what they are now, but compared to what they had been back then. So I had to do that. And then there were places where I could, because it was there was a time span when I was doing a lot of work on collective healing, different things for collectives, and I could walk through. There's one park, I don't remember the name of it, but it was mostly a jogging place. It's a very popular and very pretty. But I would be seeing what some was what humanity has done, and some was what I, as in entities on the planet, had done. Where, I'd be walking along, and my dogs at the time, 2 white labs, were walking along with me, and the forest would be in flames with, all things burning and bombing, and there would be other things going on. And, um, the first couple times or I knew on a certain sense what this was, what was going on. But again, drop you to your knees, because it's like, whoa. And it's one thing if a collective of humanity has done this at this place in an earlier time or in an earlier timeline. You've heard that this is the 7th time that we've come around for doing this, and we've made it now.
Right.
But and then there are times where I was the one who was, pushing the buttons for the say, or giving the orders. So it was a combination. It wasn't me all the time, but there was me. So, and part of me experiencing the whole thing was to integrate it, and for my own personal, and then on a collective, and then move through that. So you got to get skills really quick on how to be fierce about where your energy frequency is. And there's no hiding under the bed. There's no staying in a room all by yourself. It doesn't work that way, because we said, yeah, I'm all in, and I'll give it, all I got and galaxies more, and we're going to do this, So that's what I'm talking about here is well, I didn't mean to go quite this far into it, but is the little, nibbling at the edges of the conversation of stop hiding who you are, because you're amazing, and now is the time to let that out. And when you're amazing, you don't walk into a room and say, hey, I'm friggin' amazing, I'm the biggest in slice of bread, let me tell you what's really good, because that's selling, and that's ego money, right? When you're amazing, you walk in the room and you just be who you are. And some beings gravitate to that, and some beings get out of the room quick. Yeah. And iterations, within there.
It's all wonderful.
Same thing on the Facebook, feed, or Twitter, or, whatever it is. And there again, that active engagement where you're fiercely holding your frequency and absolute expansive open-heartedness. So you can do it with, like I said, it's not per se a question like, hey, what do you think of X, Y, and Z, but maybe more where you're just musing out loud to yourself, and you happen to write it in a thing or in a meme or this or that or the other thing, where there's that connection that's engaged, and even if the other being who's looking is, completely snowed in the way where they've just probably never noticed that someone else is actually forming their impressions and their perspective and the perception of things. But it's that pulsing, and us also wearing away, like you took what do you call it? What's the fingernail file? I guess it's fingernail file. So, when you're just rubbing away at the I don't use them, so I don't know. Rubbing away at the coating, the protection coating on the program.
Well, I can tell you that every time what I have found for myself, and this is not going to, everybody's mileage is going to vary, but what I have found for myself so far is that in every case that I have examined myself in, which is in every case, I have found that the person that I'm actually trying to sell is me. So there's still a little bit of that going on, apparently, or at least there was then. We'll see if it comes up again. And I will, of course, tell on myself because that's what this is all about. But well, for me, just noticing that and also noticing that because I'm open to noticing myself and getting to the bottom and the truth of things, it doesn't take long. Oh, thank God, because I don't think I could have handled that. I do not think I could have handled that to have continued. Yeah. Yeah, Lisa felt the shift from the other room. She told me later. She said she could feel the shift physically from the other room.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, and I would imagine that, I mean, I can feel Lisa sometimes, but I'm still not really good at feeling, probably not very good at feeling my own self, always. I can sometimes pick up energy signatures around me and, but so it's
practice. You have to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the
and
more
remember
that
how to feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well, that's a really big thing too, because, I've spent most of my, years trying to get out of the body and, there was just, so this is, it's an entirely, because they're all in, it's all interconnected and sorting out. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. This has really been a really cool one.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I wanted to add this to this too, because I know that there are some who sometimes get discouraged, like you were saying, are we there yet? Those sorts of things. But I also want to say to those that are fiercely holding their own frequency and fiercely questioning themselves and integrating things as they come up, I wanted to say this. I can feel that things are completely different. And I also feel that it is this integrating, this fiercely holding the frequency. So I love the way Sophia said, we are the ones that we've been waiting for, and it is done, and we are anchoring the light, and it just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's already done.
Yeah,
it is already done, and you're seeing it in the physical now. And I can guarantee you that. I can absolutely guarantee that. Absolutely guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And someone may say, well, how? Because we wouldn't be here right this moment. We wouldn't be seeing and experiencing all that's unfolding if we hadn't moved it to the thing, which is the threshold.
Right. I agree.
The physical, remember, is the last thing to come.
Right. I agree. And it is coming. And I feel like that's part of what because there's lots of us that feel like it's coming. I don't know, that feeling of emerging, that feeling of, and I know that I'm not the only one that feels it. So, yeah, just, I guess I wanted to end by saying that. in regards to all of this. All of what we're talking about in this particular one, and other stuff too.
And each one of us materializes it faster in the out there by how they play their role, by how they notice and pay attention to their fierceness of holding that frequency vibration and expanding it. So you're holding it, so this is the ground floor, and you're expanding, and now that's a new ground floor, and then expanding, that's a new ground floor. You keep doing that. Right. And you may do that 100 times a day, and good on you, because that means that you had 100 little incremental jumps. Sometimes you may have one, and it's like, whoosh, okay, that's the new floor.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's the rushing of all of it as it's coming in. It's just very delicious. Even sometimes the tough parts, because I obviously set it up for that.
Yeah, I had some cool things happen today that I would love to have a conversation about. I'll definitely do a QP on it, but just to give very tangible examples of just what cool stuff is happening out, quote unquote, out there, right in front of you, with other beings around, and they kind of marvel at it too. So.
Yeah. Well, I hope we can do that really soon. That'd be cool to have that kind of a conversation.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that either one of you would like to add to this particular energetic envelope before we sign off?
Stay fierce.
What, Lisa?
I said, stay fierce.
That's right.
Yeah, stay fierce. Yeah.
And kick it up another notch.
Yeah. Bam.
Bam, bam.
And another notch.
All right. Well, we'll have, of course, all the usual things in all the usual places. How to get in touch with each one of us will be in the show more section of this video. And, if you have anything that you want to share in regards to, any of what you've heard here, how you protect or prepare your energy, if you want to do that, that'd be cool. Also, what are you doing when you're out and about in the socially unacceptable or acceptable? What are you doing not to be socially acceptable? Okay. You know what? I've always kind of been socially unacceptable. That's the truth. That's the truth. Unacceptable, socially unacceptable. Misfit almost, if you will. Okay, so till next time.
Much love.
Bye.